but it's those middle managers that can easily be overlooked, can't they?
And the client's first instinct is, oh, so it's going to save us money. And you're like, no, backtrack.
What are some signs that things probably aren't going to go the way that they hope? Welcome back to Counting on Change, and in this episode we're talking to Katie Hawking, who is the Head of Customer Success for Dext in the UK. We go through lots of interesting topics, one of which is Dext's Playbook, so how do Dext approach customer success with their clients? We talk about Katie's minimum expectations for customer success from vendors, so if you're an accounting or bookkeeping firm trying to onboard tech at the moment, these are the things that you should be asking your tech partner for. We also talk about the importance of middle managers as well, and why they sometimes get missed out as part of these conversations, why that's a crucial error. Counting on Change is brought to you by the Nomad Group. On one hand, we have Nomad Video, which creates digital assets for accountants and SaaS vendors. On the other hand, we have Nomad Consulting, which deals with the go-to-market strategies for SaaS vendors, from anything from market qualified lead all the way to the end of the customer's life with you. Now, if you're struggling to get customers activated or on board, then book a free health check and we can try and figure out why that might be. I'll hand over to Katie, who is going through a little bit of her background to get the episode kicked off.
I was an accountant in practice for 13 years. I started as an apprentice within a firm in the East Midlands and worked my way up through the apprenticeship, through into management, and by the end was looking after a key part of our small business unit, and then also managing our strategy for digitization, really. It feels like quite a long time ago, but I was looking at all of the different cloud software and providers and things on the market, and just seeing what we could achieve with those. Ran that project for about 5 years, and then took a role as a partner consultant, which is customer success at Xero, and did that role for a couple of years, and then moved into more of a pre-sales role. And then I joined Dext in January 2021. So it was all during COVID, a little bit of a strange onboarding period. Initially actually started in pre-sales and sales enablement, but moved into our head of customer success role about a year ago now.
Amazing. And what a change you must have seen since you were in practice around the apps. There's probably a handful, I guess, in the App Store compared to about 3,000 in Xero's alone at the minute.
Yes,
it must be crazy.
It's been rapid, hasn't it? The change in technology and the amazing choice that we all have really now to find a product that really suits our needs.
Definitely. And what are the differences that you see between when you were going through this and trying to put tech into your firm versus what the firms you're working with are facing now?
So I would say the challenges are actually very similar in that we find it's really easy for software to be adopted by those people most affected by what it brings. And it's really easy for leadership within a business to understand what it is they're trying to achieve with a software acquisition. However, there's always that I call them middle management, the middle group of accountants who quite understandably aren't always 100% clear on what the product's been purchased for or what they're trying to achieve, and will never use it themselves, so don't feel the true impact of the improvement. And so I would say the challenges are very similar in that it's like clear communication and understanding of opportunity. However, as you say, there was a lot less products on the market when I was looking. So actually, sometimes I guess we are spoiled for choice. Depending on the type of person you are, choice might be a great thing for you to get into the detail and really understand what you're choosing, but it can also be super overwhelming. So I would say the main difference is probably that app fatigue piece that we talk about a lot these days.
Definitely. I know I do have a lot of empathy for those middle managers. I remember chatting to you about this years and years ago, in that the senior decision makers get all the love from the sales team.
Yeah.
And they can take it out to lunch and things like that, and hopefully to get a deal done. And then often the people at the coalface, if they're lucky and working with a good partner, will get training and they'll get hands-on support from a success team. But it's those middle managers that really need to think about the different ways of working that can easily be overlooked, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually do have a specific session that we deliver to managers within a practice. Because what we don't want to do is take them through the basic product training of a product that they'll never use and never need to know how to use. But they do need to understand the benefits it brings to their clients, because they're often the ones in those year-end client meetings trying to then pitch the products. And so as part of that session, we get them to kind of sit and put themselves in the shoes of one of their key clients, and we say, right, what's the benefit do you think for your client about using this sort of technology, and then separate that completely from what's the benefit for the practice, because actually they're two very different things. And if a client manager goes into a meeting unprepared, not really from their point of view, but because the communication hasn't been clear within the firm, then I think you can get that mixed up, and you start having conversations like, oh, it's going to save us loads of time. And the client's first instinct is, oh, so it's going to save us money. And you're like, no, backtrack. So it's about really separating those two things and helping that really clear understanding, but appreciating that it's not product features, it's actually a completely different value piece.
From the firms that you're working with day to day, and the ones that you're going in and you're maybe speaking to those middle managers, what are the biggest mistakes that you'll see in those firms making when they're trying to move forwards with, whether it's a tech product or whether it's a change in the way they work? Like, where are they falling down typically?
Yeah, so I did actually produce a guide on this last year, because it's something I feel really passionately about. And I think it can probably be used, as you say, across any sort of project, not just a technology project, but it's about setting really clear goals around what you want to achieve, and timelines, deadlines, that sort of thing as well. Obviously, they have to be achievable. And then the next step on from there for me is creating a really clear communication plan, and making sure that it's very transparent, but also speaks to the benefit at each level of the business, because the reasons for a project will be different depending on who you are within that practice. And so not just a blanket email to everyone saying, we've bought this product, now start using it, but actually making sure that people feel part of the story. And as much as you can't always include them within the buying journey, because I would say actually that's another thing that has changed since I was in practice, is just the sheer amount of people that are involved in a buying journey now. I think previously, especially if you were looking at, say, a new piece of tax software or accounting practice management, it really would have just been a leadership decision. They'd be going out looking at the options, the prices, and they'd make the decision. So I would say clear goals and deliverables, a really clear communication plan, and an implementation plan as well. But working closely with whatever customer success function is available to you within, whether it is a product, if not, if it's a different type of project, then obviously it might be a little bit more minimal. But if it is a product that you're looking for, really making the most of that, because in all honesty, it's in most software teams' best interest to make sure that our partners are seeing value really quickly from their purchase. And the last thing that we want is for someone to come along and buy Dext and then not see the value from it, not adopt it, not have a true understanding of the features and the benefits, because actually that becomes a really problematic partner further down the line. So it's not, if you have customer success teams hammering you for meetings and things, it is genuinely because they want you to get the most out of the product. So leveraging that support and education early on, I think, will set you up for success further down the line as well.
In any change project, if people aren't very well informed, their tendency is to just fill in the blanks negatively. So it's a negative potential, like, I'm going to lose my job, but I suppose that's super relevant in something like bookkeeping, where you're automating that so much. How hard is it to get firms to really crystallize and properly communicate what they're doing to put staff's mind at ease? You see firms doing that quite well, or is that lacking a bit sometimes?
I see them do it well when they work with us on a communication plan, or if they're a really established firm who's experienced in rolling change projects out very regularly. You see a lot of firms now, especially larger ones, with dedicated project teams who are there to do that. And I think the people who have those structures in place do really benefit from it. We can't all afford that. Not every firm has the capacity to be able to do that. And so, as I said, I've produced a guide, I'm sure 15 other people have, on communicating change effectively. And so I would say definitely kind of use the resources that you have available to you.
Yeah, and there's so much here, isn't there, that that comes into question as soon like you start it, you go, well, maybe I've been to account X or whatever, I've seen a decent app, I'll give it a whiz. And now suddenly, as you're saying, there's all these different aspects of the practice that it impacts if you want to do it right and correctly. But for some practical nuggets then, for anyone listening that's maybe going through and self-implementing with a new product, whatever area of the practice it is, what are some signs you think they should look out for that might tell them that things probably aren't going to go the way that they hope? Like, what are some early warnings that they should probably seek a little bit of assistance?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess, I mean, from our point of view, and I guess probably a lot of other products and things have the same thing. We look very early at obviously kind of bundle fulfillment, for want of a better word. You know, they've committed to 50 clients, for example.
Yeah.
And we do a lot in the early stages of a deal to make sure that we're not trying to kind of sell them something that isn't fit for purpose. So if they have established that 50 clients is what they want to put on the platform, and that's what we've sold them, we would hope that we would have 50 clients uploaded into the platform fairly quickly, and we would aim to have that within the first 90 days. Because until that happens, they can't start using it and getting the most from it. But the other thing is feature adoption as well. And again, we have reports and things that we look at in the back end to make sure that we've got the right metrics and KPIs where they should be for a partner of the I guess the maturity with us. And that's kind of where alarm bells start ringing, really, because we know that unless those two things are in place, first of all, they won't be getting the value from the product that we've promised them. And we have an ROI calculator that we work through with all partners from the start of their journey with us. And we make sure that we check back in on that with them on a quarterly basis. Say, you know, this is the return on investment that you were looking for. How are we doing with that? Are we achieving what it is we agreed with you in the first place? Those would be my kind of early indicators. But also, it's even silly things, you know, like they're coming to training sessions, engaged, cameras on, asking questions, you know, replying to NPS surveys. We send out skills matrix as well. It's that engagement piece, really, and the early indicators for us are when we're trying to onboard, we're doing everything from our side that we possibly can, but we're not quite getting back what we were expected and probably agreed up front with the partner. And so that would then be for me a quick check-in to see is there anything that we're not doing quite right, or that you weren't expecting, that you were expecting us to do and we're not, or vice versa.
Yeah. If people are in that situation where they've bought something and they're finding the momentum slowing down, what should they do next?
Yeah, so I think spotting that within your firm as early as possible is obviously really beneficial, because the earlier you spot it, the quicker that you can do something about it. So, and I would say, irrelevant of, again, what product it is, there should be an account manager, a business development representative, hopefully a customer success manager, someone who is going to help you and is, you know, is looking to really help to get the project back on track. I would reach out to them first of all to see what support it is that they can give. But something that I actually find a really valuable session that we'll often deliver in those situations is a workflow mapping session, which you'll smile at, because I think we did the same when we were at Zero. So some things never change, but the value of those sessions is just untold, because what you can do is obviously go into a room, and I would actually suggest this, even if you don't have a customer success team member to do it with, I would suggest this even as maybe team building's a little bit of a stretch, but definitely a team exercise, is to bring people into a room, bunch of Post-its and pens, and get them to map out the process that they're trying to improve. Because what it may be is that every single person in that room is doing something slightly differently. And so actually, is it valuable to do cards on the table? This is how we're doing it. Pull together from those Post-its what the, I guess, recommended way that practice is wanting to do it. Ideally, it will be a little bit of everything that everyone's already doing, so they all feel like they've got skin in the game and they've brought ideas to the room. But then you can take that workflow and slot it into whatever product it is that, that's trying to automate that piece. So I'll talk a little bit around Dext Data Health and Insights, which was previously known as Dext Precision. So we've rebranded that as we've pulled our product into a unified experience. And I went out and did one of these sessions actually with a firm in Leeds, because it lends itself really well to improving workflows, but also mapping them as well and making sure that people are adhering to them. And it was a brilliant day. We had people from all levels within the business come, and I would honestly say that everybody added value. Everyone had something to say, and everybody took something away from it as well. I don't even think we opened the product, but once they'd left the room, we worked them with the project lead to get those structures built into our workflow tool, meaning that when they then received training on the product, it was so familiar to them and they felt like they'd been part of that build. Yeah.
And that cross section that you mentioned of the practice, it's like change management 101, right? It's straight out of John Cotter's playbook for managing change. So absolutely love that. And I think one of the first points you mentioned around workflow map is, even if you're not putting a new product in, going through that and just understanding how everybody's working on things is critical. We did an episode quite recently with Bethany Hawkins on workflow mapping. But it raises an interesting question then. So do you find often that you might go in and do workflow mapping for a Dext project, but then suddenly find that actually there's more things going on that you could be solving at the same time? And how do you balance that against scope creep for the project?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, especially when, as I mentioned, I do prefer to hire into the CS team kind of experts in their field, and it does mean that they've got a great understanding of apps across the whole ecosystem. It's not our responsibility to kind of pitch and sell anyone else's product, but it is our responsibility to advise and be experts. And I'm a big fan of trying to be, as odd as it sounds, a fairly neutral party. I'm not going to tell someone that our product's going to fit a process that it just isn't, but I will try and be aware of and advise around how they can use it alongside something else to get the outcomes that they want.
Okay, interesting. So just again, so there's some practical stuff that people can take away. We've got some red flags that might indicate that they're off track if they're doing this themselves. Hopefully they've got someone helping them, but if they haven't, there's a couple of signals there. A couple of tips on what to do if that comes up. Next, I really want to get from you what is the minimum that accountants and bookkeepers should expect in terms of care and post-sale success support after they bought something from it? Like, what is the lowest common denominator that everybody should aspire to at least be at, do you think?
Yeah, so I guess not everybody, in the same way that not all accounting firms have the capacity to take on a project manager, not all products have the capacity to take on a full customer success team, and that's understandable. But I think what we all know is really crucial is a good understanding of the product and where it fits within the practice. And so even if there isn't a dedicated kind of customer success individual, I would definitely be looking to towards education. So that would probably be online education, help articles, but it shouldn't just be around support questions, but it should be around, I guess, best processes for adoption of the product. And ideally, some really good customer journeys within the product as well, so that as you use it, I'm as guilty as anyone of just dismissing the prompts as they pop up, but they are there for a reason. And it is trying to help push you in the right direction. So if you have a couple of seconds to read those, somebody has laboured over where they go and when they pop up and what they say. So there should be in-app prompts, there should be help articles and education. Something really easy for a automated success function is to do things like one-to-many webinars, because yes, you might not have the capacity to give one-to-one support, but what you can do is ideally a live webinar with a Q&A box for people to be able to come and ask. Sometimes the approach that we take is to create on-demand content because I don't want to assume that every accountant is free and available at 2 p.m. on a Monday afternoon. And so if they can watch it back in their own time, although that obviously in itself has its challenges because they haven't then got that time put aside and it can be kind of kicked down the road again and again. But I still want to give them the ability to kind of watch it around their own capacity. But what we do then run is a session to pick up any questions that might have come up after them watching the on-demand content that they really just want to speak to somebody about. So I think if there is the ability to be able to offer a platform for people to be able to ask in-person questions, I do think it alleviates a lot of the frustrations. And what you don't then end up with is somebody raging at the end of a telephone because they've been trying to get hold of someone for 2 weeks and have just been kind of down the rabbit holes of support and things like that.
I think value flows both ways in that scenario though, right? I remember seeing a comment from Trent, who's just set up Vinyl, and he was saying that even though he's the founder, he's on the front line answering customer questions. And
bless
what a
him.
great way for, yeah, exactly. But what a great way for the people that are building the product and developing it to understand in real terms how people are using it and what they're struggling with. Like that, I would hope that most people have got a process around capturing that stuff and then feeding that back into their product team so they can make the product better based on that feedback.
Even like a customer voice platform.
Yeah.
So we have user voice, for example. People can come and raise requests, and then other people can come and vote on them. That's not a new concept. A lot of products do that, but I can genuinely tell you that I'm then involved in a group of people who review those every week, and we try and see which ones are going to be our quick wins, which ones are going to be a slower burn and is more of a significant release. But if there are kind of restrictions to what it is that you want to make the product do, don't underestimate the value of sharing that opinion and voting on other people's as well, because it does get picked up. I think the product team absolutely love the feedback, because as much as our product team love to get in front of our customers and they're always kind of clambering over tickets for account techs to try and get in front of them, obviously they do have a day job to do as well. So that's just a whole forum of advice on product improvements that they just grab with both hands.
Surprised you let Stephen out at Accountex, that he's not
Believe
just
me,
locked away somewhere working on products all the time.
If I had my way, he wouldn't be there. He's dangerous.
I love that other point you alluded to a little bit ago there about the change management, like I mentioned Okata and stuff like that as well. How critical a skill do you think that is can be in the future, or do you think that products will just get so good that they'll drop in easily and people won't need to worry about that too much?
I don't think it will ever be easy. I don't want to typecast, but we know that people attracted to the accounting industry tend to be of a specific personality profile. Not everyone, but there does tend to be like a general trend. And I can't see that changing myself, because there's a reason that those people are attracted to it, myself included. And those personality profiles do tend to be slightly more risk averse and do struggle a little bit more with change. So unless something massively alters in the profile of people going into accountancy, I do think it's going to be a key skill over time. And actually, the more you can educate and resource yourself with dealing with change, because something that we do know about change is it never changes. Like, it's only going to get more and more rapid with the changes in the developments in things like AI and automation. So we know it's here to stay. We know it's something that we're going to have to deal with all the time. We know it's something that makes people feel uncomfortable. So if we really want to take our team on a journey with us and create effective change, then we have to understand how people feel throughout the process, and make sure that the project that we have allows for those nuances, because it isn't all black and white.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love about change management. Obviously, people are learning more all the time, but it's all based on behavior and like our software, which doesn't get upgraded as often as some other software, does it? So there's certain truisms that you can hang to for a bit longer with Change Manager than maybe the tech that you're implementing. Katie, I could chat all day about this. This is fascinating, and sounds like you're doing amazing work over there. So hopefully we'll chat again at some point in the future and come out with more tips. If anyone wants to find out a little bit more about your work or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love for people to reach out on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. I mean, my email address is pretty straightforward and everyone could probably guess what it is, but LinkedIn is probably easiest. But absolutely would love to help and support. Obviously, we were chatting earlier. I've been doing a little bit of work with other software businesses around their CS function and how we run it at Dext, and our kind of key indicators and structures and our professional services framework and things that we have in place, which I'm actually really, really proud of. So happy to share the love and make sure that our accounting firms are being supported in the best way they possibly can across the industry. So please, drop me a message. I'd love to help.
Yeah, I love that. Like the better we can help people implement tech, and the better standards that we can have from vendors supporting that, like the more successful accountants are going to be, the more successful small businesses are going to be, and we all get to feel that benefit. So love that.
Yeah, exactly.